All right, let's do it. Our first guest of the evening, like I just said, the former champion, the former Police Gazette American champion, badass motherfucker right here, and she's really making some noise in the flyweight division. We're gonna find out what the hell she's up to next. Here she is, Helen Peralta. Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
We are great. Look
Doing
at us.
Doing great.
I mean,
You look good. So
yeah, we could be better. I mean, I guess we could be better, but so Helen Peralta, everybody knows who you are. You are making your way through the flyweight division now in the Invicta FC. I don't know if that's where you're sticking around. You are the former not the former BKFC champion, but in BKFC you won the Police Gazette American championship. Everybody knows who you are. So tell us a little bit what you're up to right now, and we'll talk a little bit about what you're doing with your MMA career now.
I'm just quarantining in Vegas for an event. I tested positive for COVID on Monday or so. So you know how it is with all this huge political holdup, and I have to test again on Saturday. So I'm hoping that that I test negative.
Oh my God. Are they doing the 5 days? Is that what it is now? Because I know they changed it just a few weeks ago to like, okay, instead of being 14 days quarantine, it's 5 days. And then pretty much if your symptoms, which it doesn't, we've only been talking to you for a couple of minutes, but it doesn't seem like you have any because I've seen some people coughing their heads off.
Having no symptoms is one of the symptoms.
I know, it is one of the symptoms.
It's the clusterfuck.
Everything's a symptom. I think laughing is a symptom. I haven't checked.
Oh wait, I better stop.
Yeah. Well, what are you doing out in Vegas? What are you out there for?
Just you know how it is. You can't really make anything official until they do. It's the same thing with most major promotions. So I'm just here by myself, trying not to lose my shit in this room. It gets smaller by the hour.
Oh my God.
And because I tested positive, I can't even go out and work out or anything. Just here, I'm learning some yoga, but
yeah, you're hitting up the YouTube channels and
oh, of course, follow along with those cute girls, and I'm like, okay, that's how you do it, right?
doing some jailhouse workouts in there. It's great.
Oh, I was doing some burpees. Yeah, jail style. You do one burpee, you do one push up, get up, do two burpees and two push ups. That's how they stay in shape. So I'm like, all right, yeah, even though all of my dreams are hanging on a string, I have to be ready in case I have to beat somebody else.
That's too bad. Like, has the like you said, you tested positive for COVID. Has it affected you at all? I know that you seem great. I mean, did it? Because when I got it, I went, and it's funny because the pandemic's been going on for I don't know how long, like fucking 2 years now, and like I was very fast and loose about wearing a mask, and like I didn't really give a fuck. I don't know how. Like I just lived my life, and then after like a year and 3/4, 2 years, I was just like basically telling somebody, I was like, I haven't even gotten close to getting it. Boom, I fucking got it. And it hit me, and I got knocked on my ass for like 2 days. It was like a really rough cold, and I slept a lot, and then I felt fine.
Oh wow, 2 days. Is that worth holding up the whole fucking economy?
No.
So right now, all I'm feeling is hostility and frustration. I don't feel any of the other symptoms of COVID. Those are the only two I'm feeling right now.
That's fucking
And I think somebody else is gonna pay for it if I test negative.
Oh man, I hope you test negative, man. So if you test, can you at least tell us this? If you test negative Saturday, are you fighting like Saturday?
Not necessarily Saturday. I know what you're doing.
We're just doing a little detective work here. That's all. I was even taking a sip of my coffee.
Yeah, so innocent.
Yeah. Or is that tea? Is that what that is? That's spilling it.
That is tea. Yeah, that's tea. So you have been since you returned to Invicta, you have ventured up. When you were fighting MMA, you were fighting strawweight, right? You were fighting only 115.
Yeah, 115 pounds.
Then you went over to BKFC and you were fighting in the 125-pound division over there. Now you're back in MMA and you're sticking around the 125-pound division. Is that your new home right there? You don't see yourself going back down at all? Because you seem pretty comfortable, especially in that last fight. You fucking dominated the shit out of your opponent, who was significantly bigger than you in that fight, by the way.
Well, I like food, and when I started training, yeah, I had to fill up some information today, and they keep asking me about my hobbies and what I do when I'm not training. I haven't been doing anything for the last 5 years besides training. So even though I was small when I started fighting at 115, because I was small for 115, but because I trained so consistently, I started gaining muscle mass that I didn't know about. I didn't realize. And then for a period of time during the COVID, 2020 and the beginning of 2021, I ended up doing 6 weight cuts in less than 4 months or 3 months for fights that didn't even happen. So my body kind of started feeling a certain way. Then I did 1 weight cut where I passed out 3 times trying to make the weight, and I didn't know why, because I thought I did everything properly. And I just looked like a piece of beef jerky at the end of it. So that's when I realized I had too much muscle mass. But I believe if you don't make weight, you are cheating. So I did make the weight, but I couldn't move my arms. I lost like sensitivity and circulation on my arms. And my coaches have to massage my forearms because the doctor told them to, because they were even changing color. So that's when I realized, I'm like, you know what? Even if I'm smaller, I want 125. If I show up, none of this shit can stop me. You know what I mean? They just can't stop me. That would, I lost a fight at 115 against someone I can beat on my worst day, pretty much. If I would have fought that girl 2 days before that, she would have been done probably forever. And, it was just disappointing. But then I realized, I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm going to go up to 125, because when I'm fighting at 115, they're usually bigger anyway. So I'm like, okay, my body's just kind of like, after all those weight cuts, it kind of shut down a little bit. And I decided I'm not going to put myself through it. I'd rather show up being 100%. And if the other girl is bigger, I know how to deal with it. And that's what that whole last fight was all about. I could have finished the fight in the second round after I got all the information I needed in the first. But I decided to practice, and I decided not to get hurt because I'm planning on fighting very soon. That's why I'm here. Right. So all of those things, I'm like, you know what? And actually, one of my friends was like, but she's a Muay Thai champion. In Muay Thai, they don't submit you. They'll just cut your face with an elbow or a knee. And I said, I'm not going to let her throw shit. I'm going to make sure she can't strike. She landed 1 strike in 15 minutes, but that was on purpose. And then I decided to practice my takedowns. She decided to come out with wearing a gi to the fight. I was like, she thinks I don't have a ground game. I was like, I'm going to practice my takedowns with you now. And without taking any risk, of course, because when someone is so big, it's very easy for them to sweep. So every time I felt like she could sweep, I would just let her back up and then put her back down. And then I was just practicing. I decided I was just going to practice. And that's just, even though I was so much smaller, but that's what I can do when I'm 100%. And I actually recommend to any fighter that has even a minimum amount of trouble making weight, go up. You'll be faster. You'll be hydrated. When you're fighting someone that's bigger, if they went through that process of dehydration, you don't really get all your fluids back until at least 72 hours. Especially when you're cutting weight and you have an issue cutting weight, especially for women because of all the hormones changes, you start losing weight out of the cells, not just the extra waters around the muscles and the fat. You start losing losing water from anywhere, including your joints. So you're more likely to get injured during the fight.
Wow.
Your brain, even your spinal fluid. Like the more you try to push the weight cut when you hit a wall, which is what happened to me on my last fight at 115, you start losing water from your spinal fluid when you try to force that sweat. So that's why when you get hit and you had a bad weight cut, you get knocked out so quickly because there's not enough liquid inside your head to prevent your brain from hitting the bones. So I decided,
terrifying.
You know what? If they want to be bigger, let them be bigger. I'll show up hydrated and fat. I'm a little bit chubby at 125, but this is where I get my strength for, man.
I feel like a lot of people are starting to catch on. Before it was like, oh, if I weigh 165 and I can cut down to 145, I've got this huge advantage. And even some people go even farther and try to lose like 30 pounds in a week or a few days. And then, okay, maybe you win a few fights like that, but you're probably fighting at like 50, 60%, if that. Imagine now, like you're saying, just go to your closest weight and you'll feel so much better. I can't even understand all the training that you go through. Then you have to go through that weight cut. That is just, I feel like it must be almost bad, or if not worse than the actual fight itself.
100%.
And then you go through the fight and you're like, man, I just don't, just to get all your energy back, to be in the fight of your life, it's just, I don't know if it's worth all that,
Especially for
Especially-
pros.
Especially in
Every
like
fight is the
in like the
biggest one.
UFC, they don't allow IVs no more too. So it's like, you remember that documentary with Chris Cyborg, like that famous documentary? It shows like her
When she's
dying.
crying in the bathtub.
Oh my
Yeah.
god! Like she looks like she's gonna fucking die on the floor, and
it's
she had to
horrible.
rehydrate without IVs, and then go out and fight somebody the next day. I was like, what the fuck? No way, no way.
Imagine that you train to the best of your ability. You spend the time doing the training. You treat your body like a temple. You eat clean. You make sure, and then you almost kill yourself on purpose the day before the
Right,
biggest night
right.
of your life. It's
It's
like,
wild.
okay, I decided, I'm like, you know what? And the first time I brought that up to my head coach, said, you're gonna be a lot smaller. And so that's why I didn't, because I didn't know how to do it. But he comes from old school. And then I was like, you know what? He only coaches men. I'm like, women is different. If I have my period on 5 weeks, those extra the last 3 pounds, your body naturally wants to hold on to water. You're supposed to, like the women body hold like life. It's so every time you're doing one of these weight cuts, you're disrupting that metabolic process. And your body started like, okay, that's what happened to me in my last fight at 115. My body was like, you don't give a fuck about me. I'm out. Yeah, I don't give a fuck about you. You're on your own. So my mind was there, but my body wasn't. I
Yeah.
lost my depth perception for almost 4 days. I couldn't tell how close things were. It was
Wow.
it's not
Scary.
worth it. I think we will have a lot better fights, and fighters will have longer careers if they went up a weight class.
Wow.
Even if you get to lose some, that's fine. You wouldn't lose anyways. You're losing your own weight class when you're cutting weight. There's a possibility that you will lose. Go up in weight, show up 100%, and your chances will increase.
Yeah, there's
I
so
like
many
that.
examples. There's definitely so many examples. Actually, just recently, Mike and I went to a bare knuckle event in Biloxi. Mike, with Jay Fish.
Yes. Yep.
Jay Fish's last fight was he weighed like 245 pounds, and then his very next fight, he took a 205 fight,
Ooh.
and he cut 40 pounds, and he cut the last 24 pounds in the last 24 hours. And we talked to him at the weigh-ins that night. And we were gonna see if he wanted to do an interview or not or whatnot. Like, we kind of leave everybody alone on weight cut night anyway. We just said what's up to him because he's been on the show a few times. He was like struggling to put a sentence together, and I was like, "Oof, dude."
Yeah, we could
We-
tell he was not feeling well.
And then
at all.
it transferred over to his performance in the ring too. I know he'll
I can
admit that.
imagine.
He'll admit that as well. It really hurt him. But now you've established yourself at the 125-pound division. I was just telling Mike after that last fight in Invicta, I look like, honestly, Valentina Shevchenko is like Valentina Shevchenko. Everybody knows, like, she's the fucking,
She's amazing.
she's the one. Yeah, she's unbelievable. But everybody under her, I honest to God said to him, I said, I don't really see anybody that Helen would have a real problem with in the top 10 in the UFC. So with that said, is a move over to the UFC 125-pound division something in your sights in the near future, maybe?
100%. I look at the flyweight division, and of course, I look at the queen of the flyweight division, Valentina Shevchenko. And I do a lot of studying because I plan to go into sports management after this, and I want to actually help my athletes as opposed to just put up social media posts. And I study her, and she actually walks around at 135 pounds. So that's my goal. I'm going to stay at 135. I'm probably like 136, 137 because I haven't worked out because I'm quarantining. But that's the way she walks around. She only has to lose 10 pounds for the fight. So if you notice, she's usually a little bit smaller than her opponent. Sometimes she has more muscle mass. It's still smaller, but the other girl has more fat, more, soft spots. But I'm going to solidify myself at that weight class. And when I looked at it, I'm like, the only person that I cannot think on how I will beat is Valentina Shevchenko. Usually, I like to look at the fight. I do it backwards. So I look at my opponent and I said, how can I beat this person? Then I get 2 scenarios. Then I think about how can they beat me? And then I work on those things in the gym. So I pick 3 scenarios how they could beat me. And then I work on those 3 scenarios at the gym for mental peace. And when I think about how could I beat Valentina, how could she beat me? There's like 1,000 ways. I don't have a list long enough to write it down. But then when I think about how can I beat her, it makes no sense. It will probably she throws an uppercut, I block, it bounces off my arm, and she knocks herself out. That's the only thing I can come up with right
She's not-
now. But
Yeah.
hopefully, I'm thinking, I'm working hard. I'll get better. And she hasn't retired, in a year or two, which I'm hoping she does.
Nah, you
They
gotta
say,
get
"Oh, I
there.
would love to share the octagon with my hero." I'm like, I'm not sure I want to share the octagon with Valentina. She's mean as fuck.
I always say
But
I think she's the GOAT. I like, honest to God, I think they always, everyone calls Amanda Nunes the GOAT. I don't, but I think Valentina Shevchenko beat Amanda Nunes in their second fight. And I think that if their first fight would have went to a 4th and 5th round, Valentina was really getting the best of Amanda Nunes in the 3rd round of their first fight. So potentially, I think she's probably the GOAT. I don't know.
yeah, she's up there. The problem is her size, though. Like
Right.
when I look, Amanda Nunes is my favorite fighter, and the reason for that is not so much like she doesn't have the dominance that Valentina has, but Amanda Nunes will study her opponent to the point where she will beat that person with their own techniques.
Right.
It's amazing. It's beautiful because I can see. Plus, I see myself more in Amanda Nunes. Like I look more like her, and I'm thinking about they are where I want to go. But if Amanda Nunes were to lose, I thought that before her last loss, it will be at 135 because of her frame. Again,
Right.
at 145, she's invincible. Give me 1 second. I think that's my food because I am locked
Sure.
up and I can't go get it myself.
Hey, Helen, I actually need you too.
Huh?
I need you for a picture.
Can we do it? I'm on the phone.
This is the only time I can do
Okay.
It'll be really quick.
Somebody wants to take a picture.
Sorry, 1 second. So I need you up against the wall.
No, what is this COVID in that wall? I don't want to get COVID again, and you guys kick me out of the show.
You can't get COVID again if you've already just had
Do
it.
you have a key to this?
I do not.
Okay, let me hold this here.
This is fantastic.
Yeah. So you know what we'll do real quick? We'll talk to each other, Kyle.
You're okay.
Sorry.
All right, everybody, look very closely at the screen. Who does that woman work for?
Made me look good.
I will.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just-
We
Look
try
for
to figure
name.
this
Look for
out.
name tags. Look for name tags for the company that she works for.
Yeah, we need to find out what event she's at. She's
Helen can hear us through the fucking ears.
So here's the thing, right? We were talking about. Oh, you ready already?
Yeah, I'm back.
Oh, that was fast. Holy shit.
It's like a
No, they just
mugshot.
needed to take a picture, I guess, to see if I look as angry as I feel. I don't know.
They're gonna take like the temperature from the pitcher, one of them heat signatures.
Who knows?
Oh,
Hey,
shit.
while you were doing that, I pulled up the 125-pound division in the UFC. Like, if you were to go over there right now, listen, Jessica Andrade, I think I give her a run for. I think you guys are pretty much the same size. You probably beat her. Then Chukagian, Jennifer Maya, Lauren Murphy, Talia Santos, Alexa Grasso, Roxanne Modafferi, Andrea Lee.
Alexa Grasso will be a good fight. The other ones, they've been in it for too long because this is what happens. You make progress on your first 7 years, 8 years. Your mind's still working. I'm only 6 years in the sport total. So every time I show up to the gym, I'm learning new things. For them, that being at the game for so long, they're kind of stale. If I watch videos on them, I can figure out what they're going to do. If they watch videos of me, they can't figure out what I'm going to do because I don't even know what I'm going to do. I'm not there yet. So
Right.
that kind of opens them up for things that they're not expecting when they show up. None of those girls, they are all tough and they're all really good fighters. But none of them will do something that I'm not expecting just because of the fact that they reached that point, which is not a bad thing. They're just being at it for so long that it's really hard to add new things to their toolbox. Their toolbox has already developed. Mine, it hasn't. And because of that, they can encounter things that they weren't expecting. And it only takes a second. It only takes a second.
For being in the sport for only 6 years and the fight IQ that you have right now, if anybody watches you fight, you, like you said, you analyze your opponent and you expose their weaknesses, or that you could expose their weaknesses, so you might just fucking play with them a little bit in the ring, and that's very impressive. I love your style for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm a little wild, but it's because
Right.
nobody teaches you how to block a haymaker because it's not a proper technique. So if when I feel like, oh man, this girl's good, then I hit him harder. Like, and I can watch the knowledge coming out of their other ear. And I was like, okay, they're already losing some of that technique. And you become hesitant. Once you hesitate, that's the problem. Once you start to hesitate, it becomes really easy for the other person to catch you with something. And then after you wake up, you can say, oh, I was winning, but I got caught, but nobody fucking cared because you lost. And that's what I bring to the table is that unpredictability, because I can just see that. And when someone is perfect, the better you are as a fighter, especially right now, the more chances I have. If you're very technical, I don't even train boxing. I only show up to boxing gyms to spar. I only show up to spar, and I don't look like a boxer, but I always win. Like if we're doing 10 rounds, if it's the same person, I might lose 3 rounds at the beginning on points because I don't like spending all of that energy, all that movement. And I'm not allowed to knock him out. And they're wearing a helmet and I have the extra big gloves. So, they're winning the points. But I know that if that same person, those 3 rounds, they probably would have been gone during those 3 rounds because I'm fresh. But I usually lose the first 3 rounds. And when I see them take that deep breath because they're tired, then I go at them. And it's not cue, it's not boxing. I switch stance. I don't care. I just like I'm looking at your head, I'm looking at my hands, and I know I need to get these over there. That's it. That's the only thing I follow when I am boxing, especially. It's like I need to get my fist over to their face or down to their body, and when they get distracted, up to the face or vice versa. That's all. It doesn't look good, but it works. It's effective.
What would you say? What would you say is the strongest part of your game? Because a lot of people would think it's your hands, but you just told us that you don't even train boxing. So, like, what do you think your strength?
I think it's IQ and the ability to think under pressure. I can make good decisions really fast. It's because that's all you have. You have a second to make a decision. So, let's say you are so good that you know all the possible scenarios, but then you start thinking about them in the middle of the fight. If you start thinking in the middle of the fight, you're going to wake up somewhere else, and they're going to have to explain to you what happened. You can't think. You just can't think.
It's a great answer.
I was going to ask you, since we're talking about boxing, and we do cover a whole lot of bare knuckle, and we know that you fought in bare knuckle. Is bare knuckle not in your future at all ever again, or is it something you would go back to? Or is it just straight shoot for the UFC and then maybe retire after you win the belt from Valentina?
I love bare knuckle fighting. It's easy. It's a lot easier than boxing with gloves because I don't have to chase them and do all this. Like, I just have to punch you in the face once for you to realize you don't belong in there with me. So I love bare knuckle fighting. And right now I'm focusing on MMA because, I was fighting for BKFC and they got their priorities a little bit mixed up there. And I realized, I'm like, all right, so you guys only want to pay for people that came from the UFC. So then I'll go to the UFC and I'll see you later when you have to pay me 20 times more than what you're offering me right now.
Nice. Okay.
It's a great strategy. I like the strategy there. That's for sure.
Yeah, because you want me to, I'm fighting the same people. So it's a time value of money. So either now for pennies or later for money. Okay, then if you don't want to grow your own fighters and you'd rather bring, because here's the thing, as a promoter, your job is in the name. You're supposed to promote me. I don't have enough social media followers. You help me change that. I'm not a fucking clown, and I have small boobs. My boobs are small, and I don't want silicone in them. So, if you want to promote me, there's a lot of other things you can find about my personality, and I will help you promote me. But if you're not willing to do that, and you don't want to pay me because I don't have enough social media followers, then fine, I'll go get those, and I'll see you later.
Oh man, I love the attitude. You got
That's a great answer.
Yeah, you got a ton of charisma too. I don't understand why they wouldn't push somebody like yourself. But
because it's lack of creativity. Some people want things easy. Everybody wants to cut corners. So when Paige came into the UFC, they're like, "Oh, she's already famous. We're just gonna push this." And I'm like, "You can do your little charade, but at the same time, pay the people to start here from the beginning. Like, build them, because you can build your own fighters." And of course, if somebody already has a big name, you can draw attention, but you can do both. Use the extra money that you think you're making from that attention to pay the people that you're trying to build and balance things out. That's your job, because that's why you are in charge. And if you don't know how to do that, then get another fucking job. or hire someone that can do it. You know, like if I own I don't know, a plumbing business, I'm not a plumber. I'll just hire the best plumbers. I don't have to do it myself.
I don't understand how you don't have a big following. Just seriously, like this interview right
You
here.
should do more
everybody-
rants on
Yeah,
your.
you should do this, man.
You should do
You
rants.
see, that's
on
what
your
I'm
page.
that's what I'm missing, a content creator, somebody that would put that out there. So if you were my promoter, after you speak to me, you'd be like, okay, I want you to do this, I want you to do that, and I will do those things.
Yeah.
But
should
that,
do
that
your rants.
requires you to think, right? And make time for stuff, as opposed to just try to push someone just because they already have a big name. And I get it. It's all about social media followers right now. But fighting is important. What happened to the little star? They gave her the easiest fight they could think of, and she lost both of them.
She did.
Sorry.
Yep.
The
Yep.
only way Paige wins a fight in bare knuckle if she fights someone without fucking arms. Sorry, that's the reality.
And you know,
There you go.
they're really not
We'll
back.
take
They're
a
not back.
snippet of that and we'll share that.
Yeah, they're not backing off. That maybe they are. They're so fucking weird about the way they release information with that company, because we love the BKFC and their product, but they're about to have Knucklemania 2, and instead of having Luis Palomino, like their guy, defending his title in the main event, they got Mike Perry versus Julian Lane, which doesn't make sense to me. The world title's in the co-main, but now we're like hearing maybe the world
Two title
is-
fights.
Two title fights. Yeah. It should be Luis Palomino at the top against Martin Brown, followed by Britton Beltran versus Christine Faria.
course,
And then the
right.
feature bout should be Mike Perry versus Julian Lane. That should be the fucking way it is. But like you said,
But by making that move, what are they saying? I mean, I know, of course, the UFC is the biggest promotion in the world right now, as far as following, and because it caters to the West, where people love to watch fighting, and there's money behind it. But what you're saying is that even if you come from the UFC, it doesn't matter how good you are in bare knuckle. It doesn't matter. We're just gonna push you back. You should never have to go over the champion on the card lineup, no matter how popular you are. And if you're saying,
Yeah.
"Oh, that's the trend," then create your fucking own trend. Isn't that what you're doing with a new sport? Create your own fucking trend. This is how we do it. You want to be at the top of the card, you should have to work for it.
Yep.
And that's what I was told when I first signed up with the company. And when I realized things were changing, I was like, all right, you just want to squash me because I'm a nobody, but I have the ability to become a somebody. You can grow your own, or you can just go buy from somebody else, which is what they prefer to do because it's easier.
Yeah, it does. On the surface, it looks like it's easier, right? And in theory, it should be easier too. But I know there's a lot of money being invested in that. So if it doesn't work out to that, if you know, like it should, or like people would think it would, then you're in big trouble, right? Because now you've invested all this money and you're not getting your ROI, right? It's
And you're
not
just
working.
one of the many. That's what everybody's doing. You're just
Right.
one of the many when you do that. Build your own people. I mean, I respect every other fighters, but like, where does Julian Lane's popularity comes from? It doesn't come from beating people in the UFC. It comes from being drunk and saying, "Oh, let me bang, bro," on TV, and then the people run with it, and it's like, yeah, it's a stupid. 100%. Is that what people want to watch? 100%. You can still have that, but have the integrity of the belt. You should not compromise that. The champions and the contenders that fight for the championship should be up on the card. Have some fucking respect. You're calling them
100%
champion,
agree.
and then you're just going right over them.
100% agree.
I got to tell you, Helen, I fucking love your energy and your attitude on all this stuff. You should definitely do this more often, because I believe you'd grab a huge following. And like Ian Olsen in the comment section there says, Helen is a motivational speaker. You're extremely motivational with a lot of the shit that you say, but you can also punch people in the face and knock them the fuck out too. So that's
if they're not getting the motivation, right?
Yeah, that's a really great.
That's how you
really
lift them up. Lift them up with an uppercut.
And Joe Ivy says, "Is this what she's like when she's hungry?" Yes, the answer is yes. Hey, Helen, you've been a great guest, and we're gonna do a little fun thing with you before we let you go. It's called the speed round. It's gonna be 5 questions. We're gonna be a little off the wall, and you're gonna have a little fun with them. I think you will. You got a great attitude with you. So here we go. Number 1: when was the last time you did something for the first time?
The last time I did something for the first time, well, I can't speak of it. I just have to give you the date. I don't have to say what it was.
No, you've got to say what it is.
What?
It's just no
Oh,
one
I
will
have
hear
to say
you.
what it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
no.
Just me and Kyle are the only people here.
yeah, nobody's listening.
Well, I had after my last fight, I had someone wanting to see how old I was, how old my soul was. She said she was going to see how old my soul was by holding my hand. And so I let her, because she was supposed to be a fan, and then she just decided to put my hand inside her pants, and I just rolled with it. I've been drinking, I was celebrating, so I just rolled with it.
Oh man,
Nice.
that's a fantastic answer. Here we go. Number
Just
2.
keep it moving. All
Keep it
right,
moving.
number 2. If you could only eat one fruit for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Fruit,
One fruit.
strawberries.
Strawberries.
Yeah, they're so sexy, but they also look really good and then juicy and
And you
delicious.
can make things with it. I asked my wife this question, and she said apples like super fast. I was like, really, apples? She was like, you can make
she's
apple
gonna be
pie.
farting the whole time.
But she was like, you can make apple pie, apple whatever, apple sauce, apple this, apple that. I'm like, yeah, I guess you could make fucking apple.
There's a lot of
everything.
things you can make. Yes, sure.
All right, number 3. What is a fact about the human body that you know that most people don't?
That most people don't.
I think you told us one earlier. by the way.
Yeah. You were. I know. She's already been spitting facts.
Well, we did talk about the spinal fluid, but I have another one.
Okay.
Getting at least one amateur fight before you get a driver's license can change the world, because some people drive like they've never been punched in the face. Being punched in the face makes you a better person.
That's a fantastic answer. I love it. Number 4, Mike.
All right, here we go. If you had to look directly in the camera and tell someone to go fuck themselves, who would it be?
The Pennsylvania Athletic Commission. You can all go fuck yourself.
All right. I love that.
There it is.
Awesome.
And last question for you, Helen. Then we'll let you get up out of here. Who wins the upcoming fight between Christine Faria and Britton Beltran? Who do you think wins this one?
Oh, come on. That's an easy one for you. Christine.
Quick and easy, or
I don't think it'll be
War.
quick and easy, because the hardest thing to do are the things that you're expected to be able to do. So she might take some time to being careful, not wanting her ego to be put on the line. I think that's the only thing about Christine that's weak, and it's her ego. So she might take a little longer because she doesn't want to risk anything and be embarrassed. But she's definitely way a better fighter. The only person that can beat Faria there is herself in that fight.
there it
She
is.
can only beat herself in that fight.
There you have it.
Right.
The former Police Gazette champion has spoken. Now we'll throw your sponsor up here, and if you want to say some last closing words, it's your time. Here we go.
Thanks for everybody for tuning in, and thank you guys for having me. And of course, thank you to my sponsors for helping me make this shit happen.
Outstanding. Thank you so much for coming on. You've been an outstanding guest,
Yeah,
and you are
fantastic.
welcome back anytime. And if you want to break any fight news anytime you want, I mean, we tried to make you speak a little bit on it, but I thought for a second.
I have to wait until Saturday until I know I'm not dying.
Hey, funny thing is, when that lady was going to take the picture and your camera kind of turned to her, we were like, all right, what kind of shirt is she wearing? Is she wearing a hat? Does she have any kind of
you're not allowed to wear
around her neck?
all I can
like,
say is that you're not allowed to wear any signage where we are right now. That's why my shirt is black. Black.
Okay. All right. Let's look up the rule set for these promotions. All right, Helen, thank you very much for coming on. You've been a great guest, and we'll talk to you again.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right.
Later, you
Bye-bye.
too.